Good morning. It is another wonderful Sunday or Saturday. Silly boy, crazy morning brain. It's wonderful Saturday in Moreno Valley, California. You are joining me, Coach FreeLove, not Coach Summer, for our AcroFlex today. Quick note, make sure you guys drink plenty of water, stay super well hydrated, that you stretch a little bit before bed, that you don't accidentally overstretch yourself before bed, and that while you're sleeping, you make sure to sleep in good and comfortable sleeping positions using your pillows the right way. Sometimes we find ourselves sleeping in an unorthodox position and pinching a nerve or impinging part of our body's natural movement, finding the following days everything way straining and sometimes even uncomfortable in a position where we are left and unfortunately can't maybe do our stretches because we need to take time to rest. So keep in mind that your hydration and your sleep are going to go into how you take care of your body. That being said, we're going to get started with today's AcroFlex episode. You're here for AcroFlex number 5 with, that's right, Coach FreeLove is Firestorm at home, and it's actually my home, our home. This is me and Summer's lovely abode. So, without too much further ado, you're going to need plenty of open space in your home today, and the only other thing that you're going to need, at least as far as it goes, is a chair that you can grab on the edge and the side of the chair. So you can physically get your hand on there, like this. We're going to need that for some of the stretches that we're going to do in just a little bit. Till then, take that off to the side. Excuse me. Stand up nice and strong, nice and tall. Take a big deep breath in through our nose and out through our mouth. We're going to do that 3 times actually. So let's do that together. In and out. Good. 2 more times. In, fill up the lungs. Expand the rib cage, the chest, all the way in. And out. Emptying every last bit of air out of those lungs. Our last one, making it our biggest one, in and out. Nice. Strong breathing to help oxygenate the blood so that way when we lubricate the joints or we mobilize our joints, we're going to get good, fresh, oxygenated blood flowing in and through those joints. So make sure you keep breathing in your nose and out your mouth during that period of time that we're doing all of our stretches and mobility. We're going to go ahead and take our chin over to our shoulder. We're going to roll it down our chest to our shoulder on the opposite side. Then we're going to roll that chin up and over the top. Here's one of the things that's going to help you, and that's going to be to take that head, and as you move it, imagine you're moving through mud or quicksand, squeezing some of your muscles here on the sides while you do so. So, over to the side, squeezing a little bit, holding my posture, moving my head through slowly and smoothly and strongly. Making sure to practice that cyclic breathing in the nose and out the mouth. And we're going to go to our chest, then switch directions, going all the way around, not really reaching our chin too far back. I'm not trying to stretch out my esophagus too much. I do want to stretch out my head and my neck though. So just enough to feel that stretch on the front side of your neck is good. And let's go one last time all the way around. All right, good. So we've mobilized our head and our neck just a little bit. We're going to start to mobilize our traps and shoulders and our arms, so our elbows and our wrists. So we're going to start by lifting, full shrug. This means I'm going to close the space between my shoulders and my ears. I'm going to make my shoulders touch my ears. I'm also going to lift up, not just my shoulder, not just this little ball in its socket. I'm going to try and lift up as much of the shoulder blade. It's the big bone in the back. I'm going to lift up as much of that and open up as much of that socket's reach as possible. So when I lift up, I'm also lifting through my obliques, or the abs on the side of your body. So I'm lifting up, and now I'm going to hold this, and I'm going to bring it back, pinching my shoulder blades together, almost like there's a $100 bill in between your shoulder blades, and if you can hold it, you can keep it, right? So really squeeze back. I even bend my arms slightly, bring my elbows towards each other behind me, while keeping my arms fairly up and level. Hello, Artemis. Thank you. Alright, so we're going to go on ahead and come out of that. We're going to go up to our pinch up top, and then our pinch behind us. We're going to go back and forth, almost doing a quarter of a circle. I'm going to turn so you guys can see that definition of that movement. So up in our pinch, then a pinch behind us, then up to the pinch, and then a pinch behind us. The goal here is, again, to move our shoulder blade around while we move our shoulder and socket. So we're going to do that, what I like to refer to as wing flap, because you're flapping that big bone of wing in your back. We're going to do that wing flap just a few times, starting from that upper end of the pinch, and back pinch, then top pinch and raise, and we're going to go back and forth, just mobilizing the shoulder blade. From the side, you can see I've got my arms in a slight bend and a slight raise. My elbows are swinging out and rotating this way a little bit to help apply additional lift. And to curl my elbows in helps me to additionally pinch, right? Here in the back. Nice. We're going to do a similar movement out here towards the front side now. So taking that shrug all the way up to the top, and then pushing our shoulders out and in front of us, almost like we're trying to make our shoulders touch. Okay? Like you're accidentally walking, you bumped into a pole, and you fold, and your shoulders are going to touch around that center point. So imagine you've got a small pole in here. I'm going to hollow out, put my head on the stake, right? Boom. And try to make my shoulders touch. And I'm going to go back up here, and then back out here. Again, this is a quarter circle towards the front now. Big lift up, quarter circle roll forward, back, and make sure you maintain a good posture and a good alignment. Forward and up, 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 forward and up. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm actually squeezing my muscle just a little bit, adding additional tension in and around the muscle while I move that joint in place. Having that muscle in use while having that shoulder move is what really helps to force good and healthy blood flow through that joint. In order to get this muscle to squeeze, it needs that support, it needs that good, strong blood flow. So when it is squeezed, and then I do the movement here, you guys can imagine there's additional blood flow, additional lubrication to the joint. So we're going to go down to our elbows now. We're going to put our hands together. We're going to bring our hands up and over the top like this, and keeping our elbows at the height of our hands and at the height of our shoulders. We're going to come back and forth over the top. Just a few of these, almost like a windshield wiper. Mobilizing our elbow. And now your elbow doesn't really bend in a whole lot of different ways, so there's only a few of these movements that we're going to do. So we're going to do a few over the top, just like this. Ooh, my elbow's already clicking and popping a little bit. We're going to go under the bottom of the arm, so now I'm scooping up to my chest and pushing out. And there's this little bit of swing, so my palm is facing the direction of my movement at all times, right? So elbows are up, almost like you're an old school like dancer doing the robot, and we're going to swing those palms up, palms out. Maintain good posture, chin and chest up. Nice. Okay, we're going to go into our wrists just a little bit. This one is super fun, super easy. I like to imagine I break the egg. I'm going to not let the egg drip. So get ready and break the egg, but don't let it drip. Keep that tight squeezed grip, and now we're going to roll our wrists. I'm starting by going counterclockwise. If I point my fingers at you, it helps for you to see what a single direction would be, and then what the opposite direction would be. So now, for those of you that maybe are struggling with this one, put those first two fingers together, or maybe your thumbs together, and roll those wrists out. This first wrist stretch usually mixes people up. They don't realize that there is, good, that's one side, let's switch to our opposite. They don't realize that there's an opposite direction to do this wrist stretch. They usually just kind of like fold their hands around and flip their hands. Oh, sick, done. And that's not really the way it's good to be done, and to be done right and to be done well. You should take an extra bit of time and to really articulate that rotation, right? Control and articulate those rotations. So our upper set's taken care of for the most part. We're going to switch down and go into our torso and our hips. We're going to start with just a little bit of a tight and light torso twist. So squeeze tight. This means I'm squeezing all of my abs, right? My glutes, I'm squeezing super tight. I'm activating all of these muscles. I'm even squeezing my quads to lock myself in this upright position. Like I am now a tree, right? One of those kids' drawings of a tree. Nice little Christmas tree, first grade picture. Just super straight, okay? We're gonna hold that tight squeeze and now add a light twist. So from that tight squeeze, twisting and looking the direction of my twist. Add a little bit of additional pull through the arms for some gained momentum towards the end of your twist. So my arms are out here, and as I get towards the end of my twist, I'm going to pull in the direction that I'm twisting while I look that direction as well. So cross and back. Nice. So that usually takes care of our torso, at least for the most part, especially if you were squeezing all those parts like we talked about. We're going to widen our stance. I like to go about 2 shoulder widths wide. So my shoulders are about so wide. When I go down to my feet, boom, and boom. So maybe slightly more than your 2 shoulder widths, but that's okay. So our goal here is to isolate our spine and to roll our hips out. Trying to curve and tilt your pelvis as much as possible. Trying to mobilize not just our lower back, but inside of your pelvis and your hips as best as possible. Because there's this space called your pelvic bowl, right? And that's inside of the bones that are your hips or your pelvis. In that space is where our spine lands. And you can imagine, like, not a lot of movement happens on that part of the spine. So we move the pelvis around the spine so that we can create that additional mobility, right? So because I can't move that part of the spine, I will isolate that part of the spine and then move in the opposite direction now. My hips, I'll move my hips around that. Almost like if the witch had her cauldron and she couldn't stir her cauldron, but instead she held her stick and her cauldron stirred for her, right? So we're holding our spine, letting our cauldron do the stirring. Witchy references way outside of October, but this will be this live stream currently that's happening will be archived. So if you guys want, you can watch this thing on Halloween and get the reference at an appropriate time of season. Now, our hips are mobilized. We're gonna go into our knees by staying wide, squatting just a little bit, bending in the leg so that we can push the knee over into a slight lunge, right? Keeping both of my heels down, keeping my chest and my hips and my head up and squared in a straight alignment, just like this. I'm gonna turn to the side so you guys can see it. Again, straightened, upright alignment, leaning into the front of this would change this movement. I'm trying to keep my weight above my hips. I'm going to stand into an extension. I'm going to dip back down, stand into an extension, and dip back down. Now if I can, I'll do this with no hands, just like so. Boom. So again, back to where you guys can see me. I'm in that lunge, and I'm going down, or I'm in that straddle. I get about 2 or so of your own shoulder width. My feet are pointed out at about a 45-degree angle. Toes are planted firmly. Heels are planted firmly. For those of you that didn't catch it, I'm barefooted. And you should either be barefooted or in socks, because if it's cold where you're at, wear socks. But anyway, keeping the chest up, arms up, spine in good alignment, dipping out, coming back, really starting to feel that in the hip flexor and in the sides of the knee, the top of the knee and the quad. That's our goal, is to feel that there. Like a slight workout. We're just really, again, using those muscle groups and forcing movement through the joint surrounded by those muscle groups. We're going to switch to our opposite side. Don't forget, breathe in your nose and out your mouth. In the nose and out the mouth. One more. All right, so mobilize my hips a little bit, mobilize my knees a little bit. We're going to continue with the knees by bringing our feet and our knees together. We're going to go on ahead, hands on our knees, and just a few squats. Excuse me. Just a few squats. And when we push ourselves into a stand, we're going to push back on our knees just a little bit, almost like we're trying to hyperflex. And we're going to squat, push back on our knees, squat, push back on our knees. Do this just a few times. And now we're going to go into our knee circles. High knees. Thank you. Good girl. This is Midna. She is my precious creature. Artemis is somewhere around here. Less precious, more skittish. Opposite direction for your knee circles. Hey. Hello. Hello. Meow. All right, good. That's enough knee circles and enough cat attention for the day. Thank you, goodbye. We're going to go on ahead and start with our last little bit of ankle movements and taking our first stretches for today's AcroFlex. So really leaning in, putting some weight in over the ankle, now rolling the ankle. Maybe easier to see that from the side for you guys. So I'm leaning into it, not leaning back away from it. Head, chest, hips, knee towards the front foot. And now, keeping that heel up off the ground, I'm going to be moving both my ankle and my knee in a circle in the same direction. Trying to keep the pattern, the ball of the toe pinned firmly in place. And opposite direction. So, if you guys are just joining us, we have done almost all of our mobility. We're switching sides, going into that lunge, finishing our mobility by rolling our last ankle out. Now, today, what we're going to address as far as our stretches go, it's going to be a general full body stretch series, but we're going to talk about PNF stretching. And that's something that often people hear, and specifically so that you guys are aware, it is just like normal stretching, opposite direction, but there's going to be additional muscular contraction, right? So PNF, what it stands for actually, and I have this, so I make sure I don't say it the wrong way. It's a series of 3 fairly long words, but it's proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. What that really means is knowing your muscle and then facilitating use of it while it's in a stretched position. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a seat, and like I said earlier, if you didn't have one, a chair that you can grab onto the sides of. This is going to help us to talk about PNF stretches just a little bit. We're going to start by taking a seat in the chair, Nice strong posture position. If you can adjust your chair, one of the best things that you can do is make your chair slightly taller so you can get your feet out in front of you at a nice strong 90-degree bend. Once you've got yourself in place, you're going to sit up, take it again, a nice big deep breath in the nose, out the mouth. We're going to do our next stretch, actual stretch, starting with a slight head tilt and adding the weight of the arm to the head by resting the hand over the top of it. I'm not pulling and retching on this side of my body. I'm just hand here and relaxing here and just letting the weight of my arm, again, pull additionally on my head and my neck. Okay, we're going to come out of that. We're going to do that on our opposite side. I'm going to grab a hold of the head, get that hand in a nice wide resting position on the side of my head, and I'm going to let gravity take this arm down and let gravity take this arm down. Breathing in the nose, out the mouth. Keeping a consistent breathing pattern is a key to getting your stretches done right and well. Awesome. Now, that's a comfortable stretch. Feels good. I enjoy it. Most people do. The difference between that stretch as a regular stretch and that stretch when we're using PNF stretching is that we're going to activate a bunch of this muscle group here now. I'm going to contract that muscle. It's almost like I was stretching it while it was relaxed, and because it was relaxed, it had more flexibility just naturally. Now, it's going to be a little bit more rigid, right? It's going to be a little bit more firm. And so when I go to stretch it, because that muscle is going to be in use, or because I'll be contracting it, I'm going to feel the stretch intensify during that time of use. So I'm going to start with my left tilt again, but this time, after I've applied the weight of my head and my neck, I'm going to, or my arm and my neck, I'm going to grab, like we talked about, the side of our chair. I'm going to grab and pull my shoulder, this shoulder, my right shoulder, pulling it down. I'm not pulling my shoulder up and holding the chair, no. I'm pulling on the chair to pull my shoulder down. Now I'm going to not really pull, but just lightly, very lightly, maybe 3 or 4% of your ability to pull something. So like pulling like you would pet a cat. Gentle pull. We're going to go in the head, grab a hold of the side of the head, grab a hold of the chair. Not gentle pull here, gentle pull here. So pull strong, pull gentle, and we're going to get, not just because we're pulling, we get an increased stretch in the neck, but because all of those support muscles are being effectively used. Because those support muscles are not relaxing, they can't allow for additional movement. So if your head doesn't go, good, release. If your head doesn't go as far while you're squeezing and doing that PNF stretch, that's okay. That usually is going to be the case. It's best for us to get to the end of our range of movement though. Like I'm starting here like I would normally. And then I'm going to activate those muscles. I'm going to contract those muscles. So while I'm targeting that muscle group in my stretch, I'm then going to actively use that muscle group during my stretch. Good. Nice. We're going to come out of that, keep our strong seated position, roll our neck out, chest a few times. And now, this is honestly, the episode for AcroFlex is only a little bit longer because we have to explain to you guys all the movements that we're doing. We want to make sure that since we're not there with you doing them together, that you're going to be doing them right and well. So, once you're done with the chair and you push that out of the way, you're going to have your big open space again. We're going to go ahead and continue with our shoulders and our upper body by starting with our cat stretch. We're going to come down onto hands and knees. I like to point my toes behind me. One of the biggest tricks in our cat stretch is we're going to keep our hips directly above our knees in this sort of alignment here. Now I'm going to come down And I'm going to continue to reach my hands out as far as they can go until my chest gets to the ground or nearly to the ground. I'm at my maximum of my cat stretch. And so now while I'm here, what I'm going to do with my hands, my arms, using that PNF mentality, that stretching type, we're going to reach out and push down through our shoulders just a little bit, trying to also squeeze to keep our chest down. So we're activating all these muscle groups, our support muscles for the stretch in our shoulders and our back. So I'm here and I'm squeezing into the ground. You can see there's additional tension. Here's my relax. And I'm gonna squeeze for 10 seconds. I'm gonna squeeze super tight for 10 seconds and squeeze 10, 9, 8, 7, oh my gosh, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, Artemis. If you guys couldn't tell, Artemis is a fan of our Firestorm gear. He loves the hats especially. Check them out. You can buy your own on our website. Get out of here. Okay. Load the pen. Alright, so, good. You guys were squeezing down during that cat stretch. Really making the most out of that stretch. We're going to do a similar stretch, one that I'm sure you guys have done before. We actually did it with Summer last week on Saturday. We're going to lay down. We're going to lay down in a nice strong T pose. Right? Arms are out. I want you to imagine that there's a straight line and that your elbows and your shoulders and your hands are all on the straight line. Alright, perfect. So, again, nice strong T pose. Arms are out. We're going to be on that line. We're going to lift. We're going to start with our left foot, lifting our left foot, taking that over to our right hand. Now, I'm not taking my hand down to my foot. I'm going to keep my hand up and in place. I'm going to bring my foot over towards my hand. Now, from this position, I'm squeezing the ground and reaching up with this hand. So I'm going to squeeze the ground with my back arm. You guys can see if there's a relax in that back arm and the squeeze. There's a lot of additional tricep use. And I'm keeping that hand up. Now, one of the things I'm going to do is keep this lean and keep this hold. And I'm going to slowly walk my hand in a semicircle behind me, trying to make sure I don't bump into anything. Ooh. And I'm going to walk that over and up and into the side of my head. Nice. And that was not easy by any means or comfortable, and that's okay. Your stretching should be slightly uncomfortable and slightly unpleasant, but feeling really good at the end. Now I'm going to come back to laying down. Oh yeah. And I'm going to do that same movement on my opposite side. Here, I'll talk a little bit louder because I'll be facing away from the camera, but you should be able to see the movement that my arm is going through a little bit more clearly. So, starting with my strong T pose, lifting my right leg, bringing my right leg over towards my left hand, then actively grabbing that ground and reaching up. We're going to hold this for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And release by coming back to flat. Woo! All right, we're going to push up into our seal stretch now. Now, a big thing that most people do with their seal stretch on accident is they compress their spine. And they're squeezing all the fine little parts of the spine, all your vertebrae. They're squeezing all of your vertebrae together, like really bad, uncomfortably bad. So, what I like to do that helps me to remember I have to elongate my spine is I put my hands slightly behind my shoulders, and then when I push myself up, I'm physically going to drag my toes forward a few inches. So my hands are not in front of my shoulders, but instead are behind my shoulders, and I'm going to drag myself forward a few inches, then lift up, making the heel of my hand come near my hip, and leaving kind of the weight of my knees and my feet in the space behind me. So we're gonna go on ahead and keep this hold, and now while I'm here, I'm going to squeeze my hips and my glutes. I'm really flexing my butt, for the less advanced term, flexing my butt and pushing my hips towards my hands, and again, chest and chin up. Hey! You guys are such drama queens. Even you, Artemis. Good boy. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and throw our hips back. We're going to be now in essentially what we would refer to as a table position or a tabletop. The trick to this next movement is to really keep your hips directly above your knees. So I'm not way out here like this in my seal, and I'm not way back here like this in a child's pose. I'm keeping my hips right up and over my knees. My hands are fairly close to directly under my shoulders. Now I'm going to curl my back, and doing so I'm pushing my belly button towards the floor, and I get this nice bend in my spine, almost like I am a trampoline and someone is jumping on my spine, right? And now the trampoline is gonna throw back up into the air, push that person away. When I do this, my hips curl a lot. So they curl this way, they curl round. Like I'm squeezing my belly button, closing my belly button. So my hips are going to curl round, like that. I'm gonna push as much of my spine out. Again, it's almost like there's a big old tree or something, you're hugging the big old tree. This is to help exaggerate the fact that I'm pushing my shoulder blades out across my body this way, and my spine out as if it was like there was a zipper on my spine, and my spine was literally going to pop straight out in between my shoulder blades. So, back down into our table pose. Now that we've explained it a little bit more, you should all be doing it the right way. We're going to bring our belly buttons down, curling our hips backwards, or forwards, however you prospectively see and feel that. And now, we're going to tilt and curl those hips in, pushing ourselves into a nice big, hollow round. I'm not just rounding my belly, I'm rounding my chest and shoulders. And down again. We're holding each of these for a few moments because while you're in that extended or pressed position, you're actively using that muscle, squeezing to hold that shape. And again, that applied activation of the muscle, big roll, curl out, opposite direction. The applied activation of the muscle, or using it, creates a lot of difference. Hello, puppies. Go play with your sister. Okay, so we're going to come out of that and into our child's pose. I like to put my knees slightly apart, point my toes slightly together, bring my hips all the way down to my heels, as close as you can get them, and then I lay it down. We're going to curl into this child's pose as best as possible by really pushing ourselves back with our hands effectively. Can I have my hand back? Okay, so you can push yourself back if you need to. Nice. Now I'm going to go on ahead and sit up. Woo! If you guys have not yet taken a drink of water, this is probably a great opportunity to do so, especially because we didn't really do a water break after mobility. We just got right into it, started talking about things, again, PNF stretching. If you guys forgot what that is, ow, ow. Sorry everyone, but if you guys forgot what that is your proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. Okay. It's important that you keep notes, that you track notes, and that you make sure that you're not accidentally misinforming the people. That's bad. Misinformation is bad. So, that's why you check your sources. Alright, we are going to continue to make our way down and through our spine. We've done quite a bit for our shoulders and upper body. We're going to now sit ourselves into a pike position. Go on ahead and keep your spine up nice and strong. Our next stretch is one that we constantly refer to as a pretzel stretch. There's many different names for it, but we're going to go on ahead and start by doing a Hollywood stretch. So we're going to take one leg, we're going to bend that leg in, nice and tight, nice and high. We're going to bring that foot over and keep that tight bend in. Now this is my left leg that's bent, so what I'm going to do is go to the outside of my left leg with my back elbow, my right elbow. Now I can reach this hand down towards the ground, or I can keep this arm bent. I can even bring this hand towards my own hip. This is my preferred method. Some people prefer to do this. Okay? I'm going to be grabbing into my own hip, leaning my left arm back, and this is why we refer to this as our Hollywood stretch. Okay? Because you're almost like the Hollywood people taking photos or whatever, right? Because I don't know, I'm not from Hollywood. But that's why we call it the Hollywood stretch. So once you're here, really twisting the shoulder back behind us, I'm actually going to be looking that same direction that I'm twisting. I'm using that active engagement of our muscles by pushing my elbow into the outside of my knee. I'm not just resting there. No. I'm reaching my elbow there and I'm wrenching my knee into a turn, pushing the hip up almost off the ground while pushing my spine and my head into a turn. This twist. So our Hollywood stretch like a resting person, and our Hollywood stretch active, right? That active use is important. From there, keeping the leg crossed, readjusting and pulling it in as necessary. We're going to take what was our straight leg, we're going to bend that across to our opposite. So now I'm tied almost in a little knot. This is why we refer to this one as our pretzel stretch. Because if you don't do it in a two-part thing, you often will get confused and accidentally do this the wrong way. Now, most people like to continue to twist during the stretch, and that's fine, but we've really already used all those muscles and done that movement. What we're actually going to do now is take a hold of our knee and straighten up our spine. So you guys can see I'm pulling my forearms into each other and then into my knee. I'm pulling my whole lower abdomen up and into my knee as well. So I'm here, nice strong fold and hold and pull. The trick to this one is to keep a good connection between as much of your torso and the top of or the side of your knee here as possible. If I can reach up and get that connection nice and strong, I'm going to feel a great extension of the stretch in my lower back, my QL or my quasi-lumbar, and also my butt or my glutes, right? Since this one's out towards the side of this, you're going to feel that in what we refer to as your glute medius, not your gluteus maximus. That's your butt usually as a whole. It's like, so there's your fun terms about muscular parts of the body. Cool. And oh my goodness, come out of that by letting your top leg out and unfolding your bottom leg. Whew. That is a series of pretty tight stretches that we do together. And we're going to go ahead and do them on our opposite side now. I'll be turning so you guys can see it now from a slightly different angle. Where I'm seated facing you. I'm going to start by taking my right leg up and in, because last time I did my left over the top. Pulling it in super tight, right? That's about as tight as I can get it. And now I'm going to keep it in tight while crossing it over the top. Again, this is my right leg, so I'm going to go left elbow to the outside of right leg. And I'm not just resting here. It's not just a Hollywood picture. It's a Hollywood stretch. So I'm going to push the elbow across the knee, push the hand into the ground, create a tight squeeze, and turn, then look the direction of my turn. Hello, all of my cool, fun, at-home things that I put up on display. How are you doing, personal belongings? You do well? You doing well, I understand. I'm doing well as well. Holding this stretch. It's a good one. Good, strong Hollywood stretch. Alright, come out of that first bit of the twist. Hold yourself up. I like to even lean over to my opposite side so that I can make it a little bit easier to bring this bottom leg under me and in towards my own buttocks. Now, you have a dominant side, you have a non-dominant side. This is my non-dominant side. I like to hold myself physically by the feet in this position because it's my non-dominant side and I know my leg is more naturally inclined to slide out. So I'm going to hold myself by the feet instead of holding myself by the knee. Both of these are appropriate ways to do this movement. So we did it slightly differently earlier, but we're going to be doing it this way because, well, for reasons. My non-dominant side, my feet like to slide out. So I can hold my feet out. Now once I've got myself up and in a good position, I'm going to then take my hand off my bottom foot, putting that into my top knee, and then create that closure where I'm squeezing my whole spine through my belly into my thigh. Right? Boom. Putting my spine to my thigh through my belly. Now I can get a lot of additional stretch back here. In the nose, out the mouth, and slowly let the top leg out, pushing it out to extension, and then unfolding that bottom leg. Oh my goodness, the outside of my hips are feeling like fire, honestly. But that's not all. We have to stretch the inside of our hips out too. So we're gonna move our cats out of the way. And they're gonna move themselves back. But we're gonna go on ahead and then do our knee down lunge. So I'm gonna do this off to the side for you guys so you can see that form. My foot is pressed flat into the ground. My hip and my knee are directly in good alignment. I'm going to bring this opposite foot up, make a nice box here with this leg. I like to think of it like a perfect square, as close as I can get to a perfect square between my calves and my thighs on the floor. So now that I've got my knee down lunge position, I'm going to bring my hips forwards towards my front heel. Now you guys can see there's quite an exaggeration in how much I've leaned into this movement. I'm keeping my weight of my chest over my hips, so it's constantly pushing my hips down towards the earth. And now I'm going to try and push my chin and chest back. Chin up to the ceiling. In the nose. Out the mouth. Breathing, staying nice and strong. From this point, I'm going to bring my hands and my chest out as far in front of me as I can. I'm going to try and keep the connection between my chest and my front thigh. And I'm going to straighten this leg as much as possible. You guys can see my back leg is bending a little more. But again, I'm maintaining this connection between my chest and my thigh, keeping my reach out. And when I get to the point where I can no longer keep the connection and my leg is still bent, I let the connection break apart. And I go into an extension, keeping my chest up. With my leg, that's a nice big strong extension. And now I'm going to add to that by straightening out my spine. Holding myself up as best as possible with no hands, or hands on the knee, arms on the knee if I need to. I find it easier to balance in this stretch with my arms out. And a squeeze in my lower half. It's very strong. This helps me hold my balance. Good. Nice. We're going to come out of that. You should have felt that in your hamstring and in your hip. Now we're going to extend this front leg by wobbling it out. I'm shaking my heel, shaking my foot back and forth, pushing my foot out into a straightened extension. I'm going for, if you can't guess it, my split stretch. I'm going to go ahead and turn so I can reach for my split stretch towards you. But now, one of the things that I would like for you to keep in mind is that while we're doing this and we're wobbling our front leg out, we're still actively using the muscles in our thigh, right, to push and to get that foot out. So, like one of those recurring concepts that we talked about today is the active use of that muscle. I'm going to get as close as I can to my front to back split, and then I'm going to squeeze it. I'm going to squeeze, I'm going to press into the ground with the bottom of my thigh and with my heel and with my top of my back thigh. As close as you are to your split. Some of you are bottomed out. Good. Squeeze. Some of you are way back here like, Coach, this is all I've got. That's okay. Squeeze. Use those muscle groups. Pull your feet together like you're trying to close the floor like a book. You're gonna close it. Right? And from there, we're gonna hold that squeeze for another few seconds. You should have been squeezing still squeezing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Relax and push deeper if you can. Relax and don't come out, but push deeper if you can. We're gonna hold it for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and now fall out sideways as you need to or if you need to. If you guys are all the way bottomed out in your split, it's important that you don't just drop out all of a sudden. I came out of that pretty quickly because I will tell you what, it was getting intense for me. That's okay, because it's supposed to. Woo! Go ahead and pull the legs back together, shake them out in front of you for a second. We've only done half of that. That's only half of it, because it's only our one side. So we're going to take a moment after we've shaken our legs out. We're going to go back in for our series of stretches on our opposite side. I was right leg in front, so now I'll be left leg in front. If you guys didn't track your lefts and your rights, it's something that you should start doing. All right. Okay, so back foot is down, knee is down, strong square, and hips from top corner to bottom corner. Right? Good. Maintain your balance. Nice and strong. Good job. Push into the knee. Push the head and chest back over the hips. Push the chin up to the sky. Breathe. In your nose. Out the mouth. Nice. Good. You should be feeling that in your hip flexor, front of your quad maybe a little. And now we're going to come on out of that. And like we did before, we're going to get that chest to connect to the knee, right? So from that lean, if I bring my chest to my knee and reaching my hands up as far as I can, this helps to create this movement. Now from here, I'm going to extend this leg by pushing my hips back. So I'm pushing my hips back, my hands are dragging back with me, and now I can't keep the connection stronger than that, so I'm going to flex that leg to straight and flex my spine out. Strong hold, and really lock that leg down. Hold it. Keep your balance. In the nose, out the mouth. Lots of breathing. No hands down for this one. Good. And okay. We're going to slide out into our full split. Again, there's two ways that we can do this. We can slide our leg backwards like so. But what I like to do instead is to do maybe a slight slide and really focus on bringing my front foot forwards, right? Because now this has all been actively planted in place. But this is being used, like we've talked about before. I'm using that muscle, working it through that length of that stretch. Push through that front leg as best as you can. Grab a hold of the floor. Push through that front leg as best as you can. Using those muscles to create that stretch. Now, you're going to hold that. And there's a difference between just resting and squeezing. And you guys should be able to see that difference. Here's my resting position. And now I'm squeezing, like I said, to bring my legs together almost, right? Hold yourself up as best as possible. If you have something next to you that you can hold on to, that may help you. But if you don't, tough toenails. Hold the squeeze. We're going to hold it for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax, but don't fall. And try and push out further if you can. Square the hips out. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly out to the side. Oh, I'm not to the split like at the ground, not yet. But over the next couple of weeks, while I'll be cooped up inside of my home, I'm going to be continuing to do these series of stretches, right? Not just that handful that we've done, but all of them. All the stretches from our previous episodes. Some of them may overlap with today's episode. That's okay. But some of the episodes that we have yet to release are going to have more and new and different stretches for you. So keep an eye on that, right? Now, we are nearly done. We've done a lot for our hips, but we haven't really done a whole lot for our calves. So one of the things that we're going to talk about today is your gastrocnemius, the big giant ball of calf muscle at the top of your calf. This, when it's flexed, you can see that it is a significantly more big ball, right? It looks almost like a softball. People, when they usually get a cramp in their calf, it's usually up here, and it locks up and it becomes this big, awkward mass of muscle, right? So, that's your gastrocnemius. There's also your soleus, this low tapering portion of your calf muscle. And so those two muscles work together to give you balance and stability, control, walking speed, jumping, explosive power. There's a lot that comes out of those two muscles. We usually just call them our calf. But it's important to know you can only stretch certain parts certain ways. So we're going to go over one of the coolest, bestest stretches you can do for your calves. And that's going to bring us to the end of today. So because I'm very fortunate, we have a workout apparatus inside of our home, being this cool fun pole. Now, most people don't have something like this. Honestly, you don't need something like this. What you need is something like this. Not the poster, the wall. You need the wall. You need to have something big, strong, and flat. And in theory, like, we have a countertop over here. Like, we have a bar where I can put my foot to the wall and I can reach over and I can grab the back side of it. So something that you can grab on the back side of would be even more preferable. Now, I'm going to start with a straight leg, my toe pointed up super high. My toe is going to get up onto the wall or to the bar or to the counter or whatever, wherever you're putting your foot. Make sure, again, you're not leaving any marks on the wall. If you do put your toe prints on the wall, wipe it off after. I'm going to go ahead and flex my foot, put the ball of my toe, or the pad of my toe, up on the wall. I'm going to keep my legs straight. I'm going to try and bring my hip to the wall, keeping my legs straight. Now, for those of you doing this at home, you'll be feeling your stretch in the top part of your calf. And as you guys remember, that's your gastrocnemius. So we're going to feel that towards the top of our calf when our leg is straight. Now, we're going to add a slight bend to the knee. So I was here, bringing my hip to the pole. I'm going to now sink my hip back a little and try and bring my knee to the pole. Trying not to let my foot drop, right? I'm going to readjust as I need to and put the ball of my toe up. But now that there's a slight bend in my leg, my stretch is no longer way up here in the gastrocnemius. Sure, you may feel some in there, but now you're going to feel this transition closer to the bottom of the calf and all the way, honestly, into the Achilles tendon. That's that big band of tissue that runs behind your calf into your heel. That's this thing right here. It's the thing that Justin snapped and tore into pieces and bits. But that thing, you're going to have to stretch all of that out. So, good, we're going to come on out of there. And one of the last things that we're going to do is, as you should be barefoot or in socks, we're going to stretch out our toes in both directions on our foot. If you didn't know, you got to have toe flexibility. Your toes should actually go 90 degrees in both directions. And if your toes don't go 90 degrees in both directions, you're missing major foot flexibility. If you're missing major foot flexibility, you're going to feel that in your ankle. You're going to feel that in your calf. You can feel that all the way up to your knee and your hip. That's why a lot of times people get flat feet, right? Stuff like that. We want to avoid that. We like to keep a good, strong arch in our foot. We like to keep that foot flexibility. We like to keep that foot mobility. So pin your toe to the ground Do it next to your cat for viewership. Pin that toe into the ground. Toe is really curled. As you guys can see, it's under me, almost like I'm balling my foot into a fist. Taekwondo, the way of the foot fist. But probably don't kick people like this. Now, I'm going to fold my toes the opposite direction. I can step past my foot now if I need to, and I can lean back and into this. Now I should feel this stretch actually in the back of my calf towards my soleus, towards my Achilles tendon. I'll feel it back there. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend into a straightened leg position and really push my knee towards the ground. Now I should really feel that in the back and the bottom of your big toe. And if you don't, then it means that you probably have really good foot flexibility. So, good stuff. And that's everything on our right ankle. Now we're going to take a seat if we need to, roll it out just a little bit. You can sit on the floor, you can sit in a chair, on the couch, cross the leg over, roll it out just a little bit, just a few times in each direction. Then we're going to do that whole sequence, opposite direction now. We're going to do that whole sequence on our opposite leg. And that's going to bring us to the end of AcroFlex episode 5. So, you guys, we talked about a lot, but we're not just done yet. Finishing up on our opposite leg. I did my right, I'm doing my left now. Toe up nice and high. My heel's not even touching the ground. I'm going to then make my heel touch the ground. And with my leg straight, I'm already actually feeling a stretch way up here by where you guys can see my tattoo. It's my gastrocnemius. So, holding that in there, nice and strong, pushing my hip towards the pole, keeping my quad locked in so that my leg is straight. Hold that for just a few more seconds, squeezing this muscle in here, squeezing, pushing your hip forward by squeezing your glutes. And I'm going to keep that foot in place or readjust it as up high as I can if I need to. And then make my slight bend, bringing my knee towards my planted space. Feeling that stretch change. Now, for some people, you may have to readjust your foot down a little bit more so you can feel the stretch. Or that's what you may be thinking. That's not actually the case. If you can only bend your knee this much, then that's all you need to be able to bend your knee. As long as you keep your foot up, you're keeping the low end of that muscle activated, right? And that's super important. So keep the foot up, then bend the knee. Some sliding of your toe may occur. If you're in socks, you'll probably slide right off the wall. So sometimes bare feet help grab certain surfaces a little bit better. They're a little bit more tactile, right, to the touch. Good. Woo! Coming out of there. Oh my God, my calf. So good. So much good blood flow. Okay. We're going to finish up by doing those toe stretches. Right? I know that it may sound a little awkward, but it feels really good. If you've not ever stretched out your toes, you're missing out on some of the best of life. Breathe in your nose, out your mouth, in your nose, and out your mouth. Constantly getting reminded that your breathing is one of your most important parts of your stretches. If you're not breathing, you're probably dead at this point. It's been an hour with no breath. Jeez, crazy, we're already. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and finish up our last stretch by putting our toe in that flex position. We had it curled like it's balled into a fist, but now flexed toe, flexed foot, and I'm going to bring my knee and myself into a lunge, really push into the toe. I like to help imagine like I'm bringing my heel over my toe and my knee down to the ground, but I'm not letting my toe move, keeping it pinned in place. All right, good. Come on out of that stretch. And like I said, the whole circuit of movements, that whole series, we're going to sit down, roll that ankle out, and roll it in both directions. So, did you guys have any questions? Did you guys have any concerns? Did you guys have any comments? Leave them in the section below so that you guys can interact with us. As your coaches, it's kind of important that we switch direction for our ankle roll now. Now, it's kind of important that we are able to address any and all of your guys' concerns. So you can feel free to leave them for us in the YouTube comment section below, or you can reach out to us on any of our other social media. Our Instagram is constantly maintained, super well done by our media team. Specifically, it's often summer. But then also, a lot of our posts and everything that are created are not summer. But like she's usually responding and helping people out on that media team. So if you guys are having questions about acro flexibility, then that's one of the best ways that you guys can get a hold of her as a coach, as well as, again, leaving comments in the section below. Reach out to us. Some of our classes even have an Ask Me Anything or an AMA during our stretches at the end. So if you guys are interested in more classes, then you should check out the rest of our Parkour at Home series, or our Tricking at Home series, or the rest of AcroFlex, right? We have a whole Firestorm at Home playlist on our YouTube that archives all of these videos. So what you're currently watching in a few moments when it's done will be ready to start again at the very beginning, so that you can go through the stretches twice today or 3 times today, or you can go back and do last episode as well as this episode today, or you can switch over and do a parkour class that happened a couple of days ago, all the way up to a week ago. So I would highly recommend checking out our other streams. Also, for additional skills training, checking out our other tutorials that we have. We have a bunch, a bunch of resources for you guys, hours of content. So if you guys are curious, you can check it out. You already know where to find us, Firestorm Free Running on YouTube. And again, we're going to be streaming, not tomorrow, Sunday is our day off. We're going to be streaming on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for parkour. We'll be streaming on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for our AcroFlex. And we're streaming on Fridays for tricking. That's only Friday nights. So check us out, guys. We appreciate your following. And we love you guys. Stay safe. Wash your hands.